When it comes to extinction, solo rat holes are very hard to find, which is why I've gathered my top 10 best solo rat holes on extinction. This video is sponsored by Mitra 9. Mitra 9 is a kava and kratom seltzer company which provides an alternative to alcohol. These drinks give you a high but without the impairment. They have a ton of great flavors, my favorite being tropical. Simply go to mitra9.com and use my code Outcasts and you will get 25% off your entire order. If you're looking for a great alternative to coffee or just a way to get you going in the morning, Mitra is definitely the way to go. Now, back to the video. Coming at number 10, this can be found at 54.6 latitude and 79.1 longitude, and then here it is on the map. For some reason all the maps are messed up. I don't know what's going on. It's a bug with ARK right now, so hopefully that'll get fixed. Anyways, it's going to be going from worst to best. These rat holes are basically built for solos, meaning that they're going to be a lot smaller, so they're not as big, there's not as much room. So if you're a solo, these are definitely for you. Here's your first one. It's nothing too wild. It does have a good amount of room in here. You have a little bit of space in the back, but not too much. And overall, it's in a pretty decent spot. Just the only downside is that it is a little bit compact. You don't have too much room to work with, but other than that, it's not a terrible rat hole to live in if you're a solo, but I would highly recommend not permanently living in here. Coming at number 9, this can be found at 1.5 latitude and 91.4 longitude, and then there it is on the map. Now this can be found over in the snow bubble and is directly on the very edge of it. So as you can see, there's this little tiny gap right here which opens up into a kind of odd rat hole. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. So it kind of just goes up in here. So I mean, if you can build a cliff platform or just kind of build higher up and then have your defenses facing down, it does work for a pretty decent solo rat hole, for just getting started, kind of keeping your area away so that people, don't really mess with you. And to be honest, a lot of people aren't really going to look here because it's so far off onto the side that you're so far away from everything that there's nothing really that valuable up here. So honestly, it does make for a pretty good rat hole. Coming at number 8, this can be found at 50.1 latitude and 39.9 longitude, and then there it is on the map. Now this can be found over in the city, and this is for another pretty small tribe. I mean, it can fit a couple people, but I still recommend, kind of just a solo because they don't have too much room to work with. Now this one is a little bit bigger than the last ones. Just defending that entrance is going to be your hardest part. It goes decently deep in here, but you can't fit in anything crazy like an indie forge or like, a replicator. These are just really meant as like the starter zone. So yeah, I can already see it in the comments that you guys are going to say, hey, these suck, these aren't that good. They're meant for just solos looking to find some decent spots to just live for like, a week or so and just get your stuff built up and then you can move. That's the entire point of these, but yeah, otherwise this one's not that bad at all. Coming at number 7, this can be found at 83.5 latitude and 61.4 longitude, and then there it is on the map. Now this can be found over right next to the bubble, the desert bubble, I believe, yes. But these can be found on the desert bubble and the snow bubble. They're just kind of all over the place. So there's about 20 of these, and they all kind of range, a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. This is a decent one that I found, but yeah, these rat holes are really tiny. There's not too much room in here. It's a nice little area to fit a tiny little compact base just while you're farming or working in the desert bubble. So yeah, other than that, not a bad spot at all. And coming at number 6, this can be found at 49.7 latitude and 80.8 longitude, and then there it is on the map. Now this can be found over in the city, pretty close to, it's like half wasteland, half city. This is kind of the wasteland part, if you want to call it that. Now this rat hole, I already know people are not going to fully like this one. I'm just kind of offering up as another spot to just go check and see if there's any bases, or to just put down a couple things like a smithy or like a fabricator in here, farm a little bit and then just move. So yeah, it does have 2 entrances, but that entrance you can't really enter in, it's too tight. So yeah, I mean, put a couple turrets down in here and you'll be fine for a couple hours if you're looking to do like a little farming base or something. Totally up to you. There is a second room back here, but I think that's kind of impossible to even get into. But yeah. Coming at number 5, this can be found at 50.8 latitude and 42.3 longitude, and then there it is on the map. Then this can be found directly in the middle of the city, and there are a couple of these around the map. Just this seems to be the best one that I've found just because of the location. It's pretty central to pretty much everything. So apparently ARK just forgot to patch these things up, and there's entire base spots in every single one of these, but you can't build in all of them. You can build in this one on partial areas, but not all of it. It's really awkward. But with cliff platforms, you can easily put one in here and you'll be fine. So, I mean, if you can defend it, it is going to be a pretty difficult raid as long as you can just get that main entrance just defended, and you'll honestly be pretty fine in here as a solo. And coming at number 4, this can be found at 54.1 latitude and 76.6 longitude, and then there it is on the map. Now this can be found over in, I believe it's still like the city, but kind of like wasteland area. It's where it kind of like transforms, and this is a pretty small rat hole, but the entrance does make it decently overpowered. As long as you can just place a couple things in here and just kind of live in here for, a couple weeks, it would make for a pretty decent spot. I mean, it's not awful. You do have a little bit of room in here. You can put your fabricators, smithies, some forges, all that down, and you're still decently comfortable. Just defending these entrances are always the hardest part to do. Coming at number 3, this can be found at 27.1 latitude and 4.7 longitude, and then there it is on the map. Now this can be found over in the sunken forest directly as you enter into that little kind of cave area. So there's a little water stream, just kind of go straight through it, and then you'll enter into this little, I guess you want to call it cave. It's not really a cave, but it's kind of a cave at the same time. Now up here you have 2 different rat holes. I'll show you both of them. Basically, the one rat hole is built into the other one, but it's like partially mesh. It's a little bit confusing. Anyways, this is your first location. It's not awful at all. And it does also keep going, so it opens up into another little room up here. So you do have a pretty decent amount of room. Can't fit anything crazy like an anti-forge in here, unfortunately. But as a solo, you probably won't even really get that far anyways. So yeah, coming down here, it does enter into another rat hole, which I'll show you here in a second. But yeah, that first area, you do have a lot of room to work with, and you can easily defend this. I mean, just put a nice little turret wall up, a bunch of spam turrets, and you should honestly be pretty fine in here. Now here's your second rat hole. It is built into the same one, but it's like mesh, so you need to this spot needs to have the best defense on it, or else somebody can easily mesh into you. As you can see right there, I don't know what's going on with it. ARK's probably gonna patch that little area, but yeah, other than that, it's not a bad spot at all. Coming at number 2, this can be found at 0.1 latitude and 17.9 longitude, and then there it is on the map. Now this can be found over in the sunken forest, pretty much directly on the ceiling. That's what your surroundings do look like. This one is still pretty tricky to find. Just kind of look at the exact routes that I'm looking at, and hopefully you should find it. I always have a pain trying to find these ones. So yeah, this is for the bigger solo tribe that's looking to have a little bit more items in here, like an indie forge, potentially a replicator if you can get one to fit, and just overall, just raise up some dinos. So you do have a lot of room in here compared to the other ones. I mean, you have much more room. You also do have a second room back here. It's nothing too wild, of course. It could be bigger, but as a solo, you don't really need too much room. But yeah, it does enter down a little bit more. There's nothing else really in here though. I mean, that's your other room, and you can't really build on there because of how the mesh is built. But yeah, overall, it's not a bad rat hole at all. And finally, coming at number 1, this can be found at 22.8 latitude and 0.7 longitude, and then there it is on the map. Now this is probably the best rat hole for a solo, and this can be found over in the sunken forest. Now this is your area on ASE, which had a bunch of rat holes, but unfortunately they patched all that on ASA. So they still left one though. I don't know how, but they still didn't seed this one. This one's very difficult to find. I don't even know how I found this thing, but if you come right back in here, it opens up into this tiny little room, nothing too wild. And then, there's a couple little things down there, but it opens up into a second room, and the second room is, it's still okay. It's not terrible until you come over here. This is the honestly pretty decent size of it. You can easily fit everything that you're ever going to need as a solo in here, and yeah, it's probably one of the best spots as a solo on here. But yeah, anyways, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy. Don't forget to leave a like if you're new and hit that subscribe button, and thanks for watching.